Peace and blessings. Welcome back to the channel once again, where we talk all things health and healing from a holistic perspective. And today will be no different. Today we're going to talk about the silent assassin behind the number one cause of death for all human beings worldwide, not just here in America, but worldwide. Now, that number one risk factor or silent assassin that most people write off, most people take for granted, is high blood pressure. Okay? High blood pressure has become so common that we think it is normal. So my uncle, my auntie got it, my cousin got it, my girlfriend got it, my boyfriend got it, my friend from high school got it. It becomes so common that people think it is normal. Okay, so when people say like, hey, what's going on? Why'd you go to the doctor? Oh, nothing, just a little bit of high blood pressure. But again, you got to remember, this is how my journey started with high blood pressure. Okay, so I want to dive deep into it and give you 8 reasons why your blood pressure is elevated, or 8 causes of your high blood pressure. Okay, and this is good for somebody who both has high blood pressure, but also for somebody who wants to prevent getting high blood pressure as well too. So even for my young people out there, this is important for you, because listen up, this is really important. If you are living the regular standard American lifestyle, okay, that means that you have very few standards when it comes to what you eat. You have very few standards on when you work out, when you move. You have very few standards as to how often you spend time outside in the sun, in nature. You have very few standards when it comes to how you check your health. If you're living that and you don't read labels when you buy food, and you're not specific to what restaurants you go to, and you're not specific when you order from restaurants, like what type of foods you're ordering, then trust me, at some point you will have high blood pressure. It is that prevalent, okay? And if you don't have high blood pressure, you'll have something else that will cause high blood pressure. As a matter of fact, 2 out of 3 Americans have either diabetes or pre-diabetes, okay? And both of those cause the blood pressure to be high. So that's what I'm saying. It's like, even if you don't get high blood pressure at first, you eventually get high blood pressure. So this is why this conversation is so important. And I think it's really important that it hits home to people to understand, at the first sign that your blood pressure is starting to become elevated, what your body is telling you is that it is a check engine light. Okay, something is wrong. And something in your lifestyle has to be addressed and adjusted. Okay. Now, the reason why I'm bringing that up is because I've filled hundreds of thousands of prescriptions in my past working in a hospital, etc. But what I could tell you is that I've never seen anybody get on high blood pressure and didn't change their lifestyle and was able to get off those medications without just saying, I'm stopping it. Okay. And the reason why that's so important is because you can stop the medications, but your blood pressure is going to still be high. And sometimes it's actually dangerous to abruptly stop these medications, because a lot of people just stop and then all of a sudden their blood pressure goes through the roof, because that's one of the side effects of the drug. Okay, so it's just hugely important to understand it from that point of view. And then most importantly, and this is really important, most people who have a heart attack or stroke are actually on medication when they have the heart attack or stroke. So what they're saying to you is this: if the blood pressure is being controlled, air quotes, by a medication, and you still have a heart attack or stroke, now it could be other factors that play, a role in this. But what's really important to understand is, just because you turn off the check engine light doesn't mean that you don't still need an oil change. Okay. And I think that's the important point that people need to understand. A lot of times what medications are doing are just turning off the check engine light. Okay. They're manipulating your biochemistry. They're not correcting your biochemistry. Okay. And if you want to get healthy, you want to be healed, you want wellness in your body and outside your body, you have to correct your biochemistry on the inside. Okay. So that you can actually, put your body back in its normal stasis, okay? In its normal default state, okay? So hugely important. So we're gonna jump right into these 8, we'll say, causes, things that elevate your blood pressure that people, when you hear these, like, all of them gonna sound so familiar, okay? But these are things that people write off, okay? 1, dehydration, okay? Most people take for granted how much water they need to drink every day, okay? Most people don't understand the things that they're doing to dehydrate themselves, like the type of beverages they're drinking, the type of activities they're doing, okay? A lot of things don't go, well, they go unnoticed, unfortunately, because people are under the assumption that if I drink a little something, then that's enough. Well, the body has a requirement, okay? A minimum requirement at that. And most people don't even hit the minimum every day when it comes to hydration, okay? Their foods are dehydrating. The things that they're drinking are dehydrating. Their activities are dehydrating. The activities are sedentary, which means that they don't get a lot of blood flowing as well, too. So all of these things are contributing to why your blood pressure is so high, because these things are affecting your hydration level, okay? So hugely important. You gotta hydrate, okay? Our bodies are roughly 70 to 80% water. So when you're dehydrated, and I talk about this in my book, Education Over Medication, when you're dehydrated, you're putting the body in a state of emergency, okay? All right, just think about that. What we're mostly made of, okay? What we're mostly made of, once we become deficient in that, okay? And when I say deficient, I'm not saying you don't have any hydration. I'm saying you go beyond the level that is healthy and safe for you. Once you go beyond that level, things don't work the way they should work. So you have to hydrate. You can't just hydrate with what you drink. You got to make sure you're eating in a hydrating way as well, too. So check that out on other videos, and you'll learn a lot about how you can hydrate by what you eat as well, too, because most people's foods are very dehydrating, and most of the things that people are drinking are very dehydrating too. All right. Number 2, the number 2 thing that is elevating people's blood pressure and essentially putting a hit out for higher with the silent assassin, high blood pressure, is deficiency. All right. You got to correct deficiencies. Okay. Deficiencies, 2 of the most prevalent are potassium and magnesium, okay? When you become deficient in those 2 things, you will have issues as it relates to your blood pressure. And not only deficient in minerals and vitamins, but also deficiency in your kidney function, okay? Your blood pressure is directly related to your kidney function. So as your kidney function starts to decline, of course, you're going to see your kidneys. When your kidney function is starting to decline, what's happening is that kidney, which is a filter, that filter is becoming clogged up, which is making it more difficult for the kidneys to filter the blood, which is increasing the pressure in the body and causing that blood that is supposed to be filtering through the kidneys to become backed up in the body. Okay, hugely important. So this is where you start to see people swell, and then you start to touch their skin, and when you touch it, the skin should just bounce right back. But when you touch their skin, what you're starting to notice, you kind of press down, and it just stays there for a while and eventually comes back. That's telling you, in many cases, you may have a very sluggish lymphatic system and also sluggish kidneys. Okay? So hugely important. Deficiencies can lead to high blood pressure, namely the ones that I just talked about, but there are many more. Okay? And this is a question that I get all the time. What do I need to do to fix my high blood pressure? It's not always one thing. So that's why I'm giving you 8 today. All right? Number 3, insufficient sleep and too much stress. Okay? And as a matter of fact, insufficient sleep or not having quality sleep, because I know people who lay down in the bed for 8 hours, but they only sleep for 3 or 4 of those hours. Okay, so that is a stress on the body. When we sleep, that is essentially our time period where we're supposed to be resting and restoring. Okay, just think if you ran a car constantly for a whole year, you know, replenishing it with gas, but you're just constantly running the car, things are going to break very quickly. Okay. So when you don't sleep properly, that's what you're doing. Because when you rest, that's when your body heals and restores. So if you don't sleep and get proper rest, quality rest, not just the quantity, but quality rest, your body is not going to be able to heal and restore itself. Okay. So it's hugely important to get good quality sleep, and it's hugely important to properly manage your stress. Okay. And the reason why stress plays a huge role in your blood pressure is because when you become stressed, you release stress hormones. Stress hormones not only cause the body to become toxic because those hormones are very acidic, but also these hormones will elevate the blood pressure as well too, namely cortisol. So hugely important. Another sort of aspect of the sleep is sleep apnea. If you have a condition known as sleep apnea, that will definitely elevate your blood pressure. And that was one of the cases for me. I had high blood pressure before I had sleep apnea, but once I got sleep apnea later on in life, it made my blood pressure even worse. Because as you may know, when you have sleep apnea, there are times during the night where you're gargling for breath or you just stop breathing altogether. Okay, so imagine just hold your breath for a moment and feel that pressure building up inside of you. Okay, that pressure is being put on your heart while you're sleeping, because also consider the fact while you're laying down, you're horizontal, you're not upright as well too. So it's just hugely important to understand that quality sleep, stress management plays a huge role. So if you have high blood pressure, and you start to evaluate your sleep, you can get one of those bands to evaluate your sleep. You can also do a sleep study and evaluate how much light sleep you're getting versus REM sleep versus deep sleep. You can evaluate all those things yourself. And so if you're not getting good quality sleep and you have high blood pressure, you need to start with these very simple things first. Okay. Number 4, and I've mentioned a few here and there, but toxic beverages, alcohol, caffeine, sugary beverages. People just don't understand how unhealthy it is to drink liquids that are toxic for you. Okay. Especially things like caffeine, sugar, and alcohol. And I know there's been this notion that, a certain amount of alcohol is healthy for you. That's been disproven. And it's important for us to know and understand that alcohol is a toxin to the body. There's no way around it. That's why when you drink too much of it, they say you're intoxicated. But alcohol causes the blood vessels to constrict. So when the blood vessels constrict, that makes the pressure go up. It also causes water retention in the body as well too. So you'll retain more water. Okay. And it also causes the body's nutrients to be leached out. So one thing you'll notice, let's say for instance, with people who get alcohol poisoning or have to go to the ER. I remember when they would come in, get a call from the ER, we got to create a banana bag because we know they're going to be depleted in their B vitamins. Okay, so alcohol also depletes you of nutrients as well too. And as I said before, number 2, deficiency plays a role in high blood pressure as well too. So if you have high blood pressure, you don't want to be drinking these type of beverages. You need to get rid of all of them, okay? And drink only natural things. All right, number 5, some medications cause your blood pressure to be elevated. And some of them people are taking every day, like birth control pills. Birth control pills can not only cause your blood pressure to be high, but it also can increase your risk for blood clots, which both of those in tandem increase your risk for strokes. Okay, hugely important, especially when you start to consider how the risk for women with cardiovascular disease, especially in the African American and Black and Brown community, has gone up exponentially. And when you start to look at the percentage of women who have had birth control, any time in their lifetime, I think it's somewhere around 70 to 80%. Okay, so that can play a huge role as well too. So birth control pills. NSAIDs. NSAIDs are like ibuprofen, naproxen, okay? They can also cause your blood pressure to be elevated too. And again, people pop those things like they're Skittles, okay? And not only NSAIDs like ibuprofen and naproxen, but also, Tylenol as well too can elevate your blood pressure. Steroids, okay? And as much as people think steroids are a very safe drug, steroids can not only elevate your blood pressure, but they also can suppress your immune system. Antidepressants. So if you're on antidepressant medications, some of those can also elevate your blood pressure. Decongestants. So let's say you're congested or you go get those can also elevate your blood pressure. ADHD and ADD medications, the stimulants, they can also elevate your blood pressure as well too, and your heart rate as well too. So it's just important to understand that no medication is without a side effect. So if you're on these type of meds and you're also, after starting these meds, you develop high blood pressure, your blood pressure became elevated, especially if you're on these over-the-counter medications, this is what you want to monitor, because I've worked with women one-on-one who were taking, you know, 10, 12, a whole bottle of ibuprofen in a month because of their cycles being so severe. Okay, so it's just really, really important to understand the damage that's not only doing to your blood pressure, but the damage that's doing to your kidneys and the damage that it's doing to your gut as well too. Hugely important. Number 6, elevated blood sugar and elevated insulin in the body. All right, sometimes you can have normal blood sugar, but your blood sugar probably is only normal because your insulin is so high and it's pulling that sugar out of the blood and putting it to the muscle. Okay, so, but either one of those can cause your blood pressure to be high. So if you have pre-diabetes, diabetes, of course, it's going to elevate your blood pressure. But sometimes you won't be able to detect, whether or not you have elevated blood sugar because the insulin levels are so high in the body, and the doctors rarely test your insulin. Okay. And because of that, you literally could have high blood pressure as a result of elevated insulin, as a result of eating a whole bunch of unhealthy carbs in your diet. All right. Which is now causing your high blood pressure as well too. So just hugely important to understand that. And also hugely important to understand that elevated insulin levels, when you eat on a whole bunch of unhealthy carbohydrates, I'm not talking about, vegetables and fruits. I'm talking about unhealthy carbohydrates like breads, pastas, sugar, etc., added sugar. All right. That elevated sugar in your diet will then elevate the insulin in your body, which will activate your sympathetic nervous system, which is essentially like the stress part of your nervous system. Okay. And so the more it activates that's going to increase heart rate, constrict the vessels, etc. Okay. Because typically during our evolution as human beings, we activate our sympathetic nervous system during times of crises. When we're getting chased after a lion, when we're being held to gunpoint, like when there's a scary situation, okay? You activate that because then you want to constrict the blood vessels so you get blood flowing to the legs and the arms. So you either fight or flight, okay? But in our cases, most of our stress is what I would call artificial stress or emotional mental stress. Okay, that comes from work environments, comes from social media, comes from the media, okay, comes from being in traffic, etc. These aren't really scary situations, life-threatening situations, but the body doesn't know how to detect the difference between the two, okay? And that's what's also going to elevate your blood pressure as well too. Number 7, lack of sun exposure, okay? Lack of sun exposure means that your body is not going to be in circadian rhythm. And your body is not in circadian rhythm, it's not going to trigger the body to release melatonin so that you will go to sleep. It won't trigger the body to lower cholesterol, okay? What also makes it easy to go to sleep, okay? So it's just hugely important to understand that, the sun is one of our doctors. Okay, we have to have it. We're sun people. And as much as people would like to believe that they're allergic to the sun, for the most part, and I'll do a whole video about this, people are allergic to the sun, because they're not used to the sun. People don't go outside anymore. Whereas for the last million years as human beings, we have lived and worked outside. Okay. But also it's important, it's our diet too. The things that are coming out of our skin is what's causing the irritation as well too. Okay. And there's a whole bunch of other things, but what's most important is that sun exposure is essential. Okay. And when you don't get enough sun exposure, you're not in circadian rhythm, it will elevate your blood pressure. Okay. This is why I say we're sun people. We're connected to the sun. All right. It changes our hormones in our bodies. It changes our biochemistry in our body. Okay. And the last one is a sedentary lifestyle. We don't move enough anymore. So we got to start moving inside of the home and outside of the home. Okay. So that's why even when I go to the gym early in the day, I'll come home, and if I'm doing work at the computer, I'll just take a break every 20 minutes and do 50 squats. And then the next time I'll do push-ups. And then the next time I'll do jumping jacks. And then the next time I'll do lunges. Okay. That way I'm in constant movement throughout the day. All right. So that's how you can literally put your sedentary lifestyle in check. Okay. Instead of taking the escalator or the elevator, you take the stairs. Okay. Instead of driving around 50 times to get the parking space up front, you park in the back intentionally. Okay, we can make our lifestyles an active lifestyle even in a contemporary time period. All right, so those are the things. Okay, so those are the problems. But as I always tell you, if there's a problem, the solution is in the problem. Okay, so if you reverse engineer the problem, then you have the solution. All right, and so these things can help your blood pressure. Now, if you appreciate the information, how you can show love is by smashing that like button, smashing the subscribe button, and sharing this video with somebody out there who you love and care about, so that you can start impacting their lives. Okay, so until the next time, peace and blessings, and Godspeed.